You will not pass. 9 states require passport to fly domestic. Mandatory 2020 all IDs accepted must be tracked, microchipped. The real ID and air travel directly from TSA. Now, this bill passed Congress in 2005, the Real ID Act, and it establishes minimum security standards for state-issued driver's licenses, identification cards. It prohibits federal agencies like TSA from accepting licenses and identification cards for official purposes from states that do not meet these standards. Now, currently, there's 9 states that don't meet these standards: Kentucky, Maine, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Washington. So, if you want to fly, which I hate to fly, flying sucks, although some people need to for their jobs. So now, if you don't meet the requirements because your ID isn't spying on you enough, well, you better get yourself a passport or some other form of ID that can spy on you, because otherwise you're not going to be able to fly. Now, what happens when they do this to all products that you purchase? Like if you want to go to the store and buy something, well, now you have to show your ID. You want to go to the store and buy something, well, now you have to swipe your hand across the scanner because you've been microchipped. For your protection, of course, because everybody is guilty until proven innocent in the land of the free, home of the slave. The dilapidated, docile, mummified caterpillar population. The United States of America could be great again. We could make America great again. The question is, do you want to? And do you have what it takes? Do you have the willpower? Do you have the focus? Do you have the direction? Do you have the heart? Do you have the mind? Do you have the soul to make America great again? Do you have it in you to make yourself great again? Now, the Real ID Act on December 20th, 2013. Now, let's go back here for a minute. This is directly from the TSA. This is the fact sheet. This is not a conspiracy, ladies and gentlemen. Beginning January 22nd, 2018, driver's licenses or state IDs issued by states that are not in compliance with the Real ID Act and have not been granted an extension by DHS may not be used to fly within the U.S. Beginning October 1st, 2020, every traveler will need a Real ID compliant license or state ID or another acceptable form of identification to fly within the U.S. Now, when events unfold, like what happened in, that one city, Sin City, isn't that what they call it? Well, when things like that happen, don't let any crisis go to waste. Bring in the new world order. Bring in the new surveillance systems, the new control grids, the new naked body scanners, X-ray scanners, portable X-ray scanners. Bring it on, because it's for our protection. We need to worry about ourselves. So if you don't have a Real ID or another form of identification that will be comparable with a Real ID, well, you need to get yourself a passport, even if you want to fly to another state in your own country. And that might be after you get patted down and go through the naked body scanner and get herded onto the plane like miserable sheep without a kind shepherd. Are you a resident of one of these states? Let's talk about Revelation 13. And you guys know I'm agnostic. You guys know that I'm still searching, and then I do believe in a higher power. I do believe in multiple higher powers. I also believe in a divine source, a creator of all. The top of the pyramid, the very apex, the starting point, even though it isn't time as we see it, most likely. I do think that Revelation is a very powerful book in the Bible. I feel that a lot of metaphors and symbols that are presented in the scripture parallel what we are seeing today, and they are cyclical type events. Cyclical events that could have happened 2,000 years ago can also happen 2,000 years from now, etc. It's all perception. It's perception. Here we go. If anyone hath an ear, let him hear. This is Revelation 9. If anyone a captivity doth gather, into captivity he doth go away. If anyone by sword doth kill, it behooveth him by sword to be killed. Here is the endurance and the faith of the saints. And I saw another beast coming up out of the land, and it had two horns, like a lamb, and it was speaking as a dragon. And all the authority of the first beast doth it do before it. Am I saying that right? I mean, can we just have regular English here? I didn't want to use the King James Version. Am I supposed to say doeth? And all the authority of the first beast doth it do before it, and it maketh the land and those dwelling in it that they shall bow before the first beast, whose deadly stroke was healed. Great signs that fire also it may make to come down from the heaven to the earth before men. And it leadeth astray those dwelling on the land because of the signs that were given to it to do before the beast. This is what I was looking for. Here we go. And there was given to it to give a spirit to the image of the beast, that also the image of the beast may speak, and that it may cause as many as shall not bow before the image of the beast, that they may be killed. And it maketh all, the small and the great and the rich and the poor and the freemen and the servants, that it may give to them a mark upon their right hand or upon their foreheads, and that no one may be able to buy or to sell except he who is having the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is the wisdom. He who is having the understanding, let him count the number of the beast, for the number of a man it is, and it's the number 666. Carbon atom, 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. Here's what's interesting, though. If you look at the barcode, the UPC barcode, there was a big conspiracy that because the inventor of the barcode, his first, last, and middle name each had 6 letters in it, and because of the left central point and the end here, there's 2 bars in each. Well, a big conspiracy came out that this is always 666. Now, I could see how you could come up with that conclusion, and I could also see how you could debunk it. Because it's not 6, it's 2. 2, 2. Yes, 2, 2, 2 does equal 6. You can come up with all sorts of different math equations as well to come up with that solution. But everybody does not have to have a UPC code to purchase goods. Matter of fact, do you have a UPC code tattooed on your forehead or on your right hand? Probably not. Some of you might. Now, there's chips that you can embed in your right hand, and you can swipe it across a scanner, and you can buy stuff that way. They've got phones that you can do that with now. You don't even have to pull out your credit card. However, there's different forms of purchase and different types of UPC. It's not called UPC. Let's call them bar scanner codes. I think it's a better term. You can see they don't have the 222. The 666 will go away. You can't use that. Now, with that said, could the mark on your forehead actually be your social security number? And it's deeper than that. You know it in your head. You know what your social security number is. You've memorized it. That's part of the mark of the beast. So you've already been marked. You know, there's several states that make it illegal to collect rainwater, and the amount that you can collect is, they've got all sorts of rules and regulations and permits and stuff you have to get oftentimes, which is ridiculous, especially for the land of the free. I mean, land of the fee, home of the slave. The Peacetime Martial Law Bill came out March 2012. They immediately changed the name to National Defense Resource Preparedness Bill. When it first came out, I went directly to the whitehouse.gov's website. It was called the Peacetime Martial Law Bill. They changed that name shortly after. And then also, it's funny because after they changed the name, then these mainstream media outlets come out and say, newest Obama order doesn't set peacetime martial law. Yes, it does. 100% it does. Or it did. I guess it didn't set it. No, it said, if needs be, this is what a peacetime martial law bill is. Read the bill. Go directly to the bill. Read all about it. National Defense Resource Preparedness. That's not what it was titled when it first came out. I'm sure you can find the cache on it. This order delegates authorities and addresses national defense resource policies and programs under the Defense Production Act of 1950. As amended, the Act, and then you can read about how they can essentially, based on what they feel is national security, if they need to, if they feel they need to, they can take your resources, your production chains, logistics, employees, and say, okay, we're going to pay you this much. You need to work here for this long. It's pretty spooky. And this is from 5 years ago. Priorities and allocations. The authority of the President to promote the national defense over performance of any other contracts or orders and to allocate materials, services, and facilities as deemed necessary or appropriate to promote the national defense is delegated to the following agency heads: Secretary of Agriculture, food resources facilities, livestock resources, veterinary resources, plant health resources, domestic distribution of farm equipment, and commercial fertilizer. We just look at it. The Secretary of Commerce with respect to all other materials, services, and facilities, including construction materials. Each resource department shall act as necessary and appropriate upon request for special priorities, assistance as defined by Section 801. Energy production, military production, construction, military assistance to foreign nations, military use of civil transportation, stockpiles managed by Department of Defense, space, and directly related activities. The authority delegated by Section 201 of this order may be used only to support programs that have been determined in writing as necessary or appropriate to promote the national defense. Maximizing domestic energy supplies. Expansion of productive capacity and supply. To reduce current or projected shortfalls of resources, critical technology items, or materials essential for the national defense, the head of each agency, as defined in Section 801 of this order, is authorized pursuant to Section 301 to guarantee loans by private institutions. Wow. Don't forget about the H.R. 3999 bill. Prohibit the manufacture, possession, or transfer of any part or combination of parts that is designed and functions to increase the rate of a fire of a semi-automatic rifle, but doesn't convert it to a machine gun and for other purposes. The bump stock bill. How many guns have bump stocks? How many guns have something that could be used or considered to be used that are in people's houses right now completely legal? How many people out there that would then have a illegal firearm in their house that could now be confiscated because it's in your possession? And this does prohibit the possession, transfer, or manufacture of any part that could increase the rate of a semi-automatic rifle. Nanu, nanu. It's pretty spooky, folks. Bill of Rights. Amendment 2. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. It's all conspiracy, though. It's a big conspiracy. Second Amendment. You shouldn't have the right to own a gun. That's only for hunting. Right? That's what those elites tell us, right? Those that have armed security guards. We shouldn't have the right to own a gun, but they do. Their security guards do. But if you're a regular Joe or Jane, or if you're somebody that's the working class, middle class, upper class, if you're somebody that's working hard every single day and just making it because they love us so much, you're living paycheck to paycheck, the bills are always there. Well, you shouldn't have the right to own a gun, should you? Because you need to be scared of yourself. Because you're just the working class. You're the slave class. You shouldn't have the right. They should have the right to protect themselves, but you shouldn't. Just ask them. It's because they love us. They love us so much. Have a beautiful day. Question everything. Be the change you want to see. You want to fly, which I hate to fly. Flying sucks, although some people need to for their jobs. So now, if you don't meet the requirements because your ID isn't spying on you enough, well, you better get yourself a passport or some other form of ID that can spy on you, because otherwise you're not going to be able to fly. Now, what happens when they do this to all products that you purchase? Like if you want to go to this 2005, the Real ID Act, and it establishes minimum security standards for state-issued driver's licenses, identification cards. It prohibits federal agencies like TSA from accepting licenses and identification cards for official purposes from states that do not meet these standards. Now, currently, there's 9 states that don't meet these standards: Kentucky, Maine, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Washington. So, if you will not pass, 9 states require passport to fly domestic. Mandatory 2020 all IDs accepted must be tracked, microchipped. The Real ID and air travel directly from TSA. Now, this bill passed Congress. Store and buy something? Well, now you have to show your ID. You want to go to the store and buy something? Well, now you have to swipe your hand across the scanner because you've been microchipped. For your protection, of course. Because everybody is guilty until proven innocent in the land of the fee, home of the slave. The dilapidated, docile, mummified caterpillar population. The United States of America could be great again. We could make America great again. The question is, do you want to? And do you have what it takes? Do you have the willpower? Do you have the focus? Do you have the direction? Do you have the heart? Do you have the mind? Do you have the soul to make America great again? Do you have it in you to make yourself great again?